To the world, Joanna Thomas was the embodiment of strength and determination, a bodybuilding prodigy who achieved the impossible at a young age. But behind the bright stage lights and the meticulously sculpted muscles lay a story of extreme sacrifices, painful choices, and an internal battle no competition could ever match. Like a star that burns too brightly before fading away, Joanna's journey is a stark reminder that success doesn't always come with happiness. Joanna Thomas was born in 1976 in Truro, a small town in Cornwall, England, surrounded by peaceful landscapes that would one day stand in stark contrast to the storm that her life would become. Even as a child, Joanna showed a rare kind of determination. She was small, with bright eyes and a smile that lit up any room, but behind the gentle appearance lay an extraordinary inner strength. Growing up in a modest family, she learned early on the value of hard work. Her father, a man of few words, encouraged his children to aim high, while her mother kept the family grounded. For Joanna, that ambition took shape at just 14 years old when she discovered bodybuilding. It started innocently enough. Inspired by fitness magazines she stumbled upon, Joanna became captivated by the strength, discipline, and confidence radiating from the women on those glossy pages. While most girls her age were dreaming of traditional careers, Joanna imagined herself on a stage, showcasing muscles that were as much art as they were power. In a society that often frowned upon female bodybuilding, she didn't care. She was a girl with a mission. Determined to chase her dream, Joanna convinced her parents to let her start training at a local gym. At first, she was an anomaly in a space dominated by men. Curious stares followed her, but she didn't let them distract her. With every weight she lifted, she felt stronger, more alive, and closer to her vision. Her workouts were relentless, driven by a passion that impressed even the seasoned gym-goers. She devoured books on diets, training techniques, and exercise programs with the zeal of someone who saw this not just as a hobby, but as her calling. At 17, Joanna faced her first big test. She entered a local bodybuilding competition, an event that drew both skeptics and supporters. When she stepped onto the stage, the spotlight didn't just highlight her impressive physique, it captured her unwavering confidence. She didn't win that day, but the impression she left was undeniable. Standing there, under the bright lights and before a crowd starting to recognize her potential, Joanna made a promise to herself. She would become a champion. And when Joanna made a promise, she kept it. By the age of 21, she had become the youngest British woman to earn a pro card, catapulting her into the ranks of international bodybuilding stars. But this triumph came at a cost. As her fame grew, so did the demands of the sport. Bodybuilding wasn't just about muscles. It was a mental and emotional battle, a constant push against the limits of the body and mind. Joanna trained 6 days a week, spent countless hours in the gym, and adhered to strict diets that tested her endurance. To achieve the symmetry and perfection demanded by judges, every ounce of fat had to be stripped away, every muscle pushed to its absolute limit. With success came an entirely new world. She became a prominent figure in the bodybuilding circuit, traveling to competitions across the United States and Europe. Photo shoots and interviews put her in the spotlight in ways she never imagined. Fitness magazines celebrated her as the embodiment of female strength, her image gracing countless covers. But while the lights shone brightly, the shadows in her life grew longer. Joanna was a perfectionist. Every victory was just a stepping stone to the next goal. The stage, once a source of pure joy, had become a relentless arena of judgment. Comments about her appearance, performance, and choices came from all sides. In professional bodybuilding, the competition wasn't limited to muscles. It was a fight for attention, sponsorships, and recognition. The pressure to stay on top was constant and often crushing. During the peak of her career, Joanna began to see the darker side of women's bodybuilding. The demands to reach increasingly extreme standards forced her to explore methods she hadn't considered when she first started. Steroid use and other performance-enhancing drugs were an open secret in the sport, rarely talked about but widely understood. Like many others, Joanna found herself at a crossroads. To stay competitive at the highest level, she would have to step into that reality. She made the difficult decision to move forward, believing she could manage the risks. Despite the challenges, Joanna continued to shine. Her chiseled physique and commanding presence on stage made her a fan favorite and a judge's dream. Yet behind the curtain, she bore the weight of her choices. Her steroid cycles brought changes she hadn't anticipated. Her voice deepened, her facial features subtly altered, and side effects began to take hold. Even so, she pressed on. For Joanna, bodybuilding was more than a sport. It was her identity. Joanna's story at this stage was a mix of triumph and sacrifice. She knew she was an inspiration to many women who saw her as proof that it was possible to break barriers in a male-dominated sport. But at the same time, she began to question how far she was willing to go to maintain her position. The victories on stage couldn't erase the physical and emotional pain accumulating behind the scenes. As the years went on, Joanna faced a hard truth. Bodybuilding, as grueling as it was also fleeting. The rush of competitions and the adrenaline of the stage couldn't last forever. Though she was still admired by many, she began to feel the effects of time, both on her body and her spirit. The extreme diets, punishing workouts, and substance use were taking a toll greater than she had anticipated. Even so, her passion for the sport remained undimmed. Joanna kept training and competing, but the world around her was starting to shift. Joanna Thomas had achieved everything she'd ever dreamed of: titles, recognition, and a place in bodybuilding history. But beneath the glory of her triumphs lay a darker reality she fought to keep hidden. Behind the stage lights and the awe-inspiring physique was a life weighed down by sacrifices, relentless pressure, and battles that no audience could see. To the world, she was a symbol of strength and resilience, but to herself, she was a fighter in an endless war. The use of steroids, which had begun as a necessity to keep up with the brutal competition, became a constant part of her life. At first, Joanna believed she could manage the risks, but she soon realized how little control she truly had. The substances changed her body in ways she hadn't anticipated. Her muscles continued to grow, but so did the toll on her health. Hormonal imbalances, cardiovascular strain, and pressure on her organs became impossible to ignore. Still, she pushed forward, determined to bear the consequences because, in her mind, success wasn't optional, it was essential. Outwardly, Joanna still radiated the strength and confidence that had made her a star, but her body was breaking down. Pain became her constant companion, yet she dismissed it. In the world of bodybuilding, pain was seen as a necessary sign of progress. The physical toll of years of punishing workouts and restrictive diets left her exhausted, but she wore her struggles like armor. Each movement she made was a testament to her strength and an unspoken cry for relief. As she grew older, Joanna faced an adversary no one could outrun: time. In bodybuilding, youth and novelty were celebrated above all else. Even with her impressive achievements, she felt the creeping threat of being forgotten. She fought against the inevitable decline with the same fiery determination that had brought her to the top, but the pressure to maintain her flawless image became suffocating. Each time she looked in the mirror, she saw more than muscles. She saw the scars of her journey. Behind every perfect line and curve was a cost no one else could truly understand. As her career slowed, Joanna was left with an emptiness she didn't know how to fill. The stage had been her world, her purpose. Without it, she felt adrift. Sponsorship deals dried up, opportunities dwindled, and loneliness began to consume her. Joanna had always been a fighter, But now she faced a battle that couldn't be won with physical strength alone. Depression, which had lingered in the background for years, finally took hold. She felt isolated, like a star whose light was fading too soon. Her health continued to deteriorate. Years of steroid use had weakened her immune system, and heart problems began to surface. Even then, Joanna tried to maintain a sense of normalcy. She didn't want anyone to see her vulnerability, to know the price she was paying. But her body refused to cooperate as it once had. Simple movements became painful, and the energy she'd once seemed to have in abundance was now painfully scarce. Joanna retreated from the spotlight, withdrawing from the world that had once celebrated her. Alone, she reflected on the choices she had made. She never regretted chasing her dream, but she couldn't deny the sacrifices it had demanded. She felt trapped by her own legacy, a woman who had given everything to bodybuilding and, in return, lost parts of herself she could never reclaim. Her life had become a painful contradiction, an icon of inspiration to so many, yet a woman struggling to find her own way. In 2020, Joanna Thomas was found dead in her home at just 43 years old. The news sent shockwaves through the bodybuilding community and beyond. Friends and fans remembered her as strong, determined, and resilient, but few knew the depths of her struggles in her final years. The official cause of death wasn't immediately released, but the health issues she had endured were widely known. Joanna was not just a victim of her choices. She was also a casualty of a system that glorified extremes without acknowledging their cost. Her passing sparked a long-overdue conversation about the pressures of professional bodybuilding. What had been seen as a sport celebrating strength was revealed, for many, to be a pursuit demanding inhuman sacrifices. Joanna's story became a sobering reminder of how the quest for perfection could break even the strongest among us. She was a symbol of both triumph and tragedy, a testament to the highs and lows of chasing greatness. Despite her untimely death, Joanna Thomas's legacy endures. She was a trailblazer, a woman who defied expectations and reached heights most could only dream of. Her life was a mix of victory and heartbreak, a poignant reminder of the complexity of following a passion at any cost. For those who admired her, her story serves as a powerful lesson. Even the strongest people have their limits, and in the end, health and well-being must always come first. Though Joanna is gone, her story continues to inspire and teach valuable truths about the sacrifices and challenges of pursuing greatness.